there are 14 areas that change the way you function to have younger cells. One of them is what we used to be senolytics. We used to try and get rid of old cells. Well, now there are rejuvenators that turn on two genes in our cells, and they make proteins that make us younger.
Behind the practice.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Behind the Practice. I'm Katie Brinkley, and we are in for a treat today because we are sitting down with Dr. Mike Roizen. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is such a treat. And for people who might not be familiar with you, Dr. Mike, you are the Chief Wellness Officer at the Cleveland Clinic, co-author of You series with Dr. I mean, the list goes on. You have quite a list of accomplishment and accolades to your name. So I really appreciate you joining me on the show today.
My privilege. So I'm one of the few docs who has an Emmy, a L, and the Paul Rogers Award for the best medical communicator from the National Library of Medicine.
I was just say,
only one who has the same things as my co-author, Mehmet Oz.
I was just about to say, does anyone else have that honor? Because an Emmy in that awards list probably is pretty rare to get. So.
Well, it's from appearing on one of the Oprah shows. So,
yeah,
yes.
That's great. Well, so let's talk. I mean, you've been doing this. You spent decades in this industry and focused on extending the lifespan.
Right. So I like to think of wellness as slowing your rate of aging. And so when we developed Real Age, what Real Age is the actual age of your body. And you can be up to, for women, 31 years younger or older with just doing what we call lifestyle. Stress management, posse purpose play, nutritional choices, physical activity, and then avoiding some unforced errors are the major ones. But that slows it. We're now entering the area of longevity, which actually reverses aging. So there are what we call 14 shots on goal. There are 14 areas of research into the mechanism of aging that mean that you will be able to be younger than your children when you're 90. That is, they have taken, all 14, have taken 3 animal species that are the equivalent of human 90 and made them human 40. So 5 of those are now in human testing. So within 5 years, we're going to see whether there will be a breakthrough at this type of event.
Yeah.
And one of those is available now. So as I said, there are 14 that have been shown to actually reverse the process of aging.
So that is, I'm sure the people listening right now are just blown away. They're like, what do you mean reversing the process of aging?
Your cells, every one of your cells functions as though it's a younger cell. As we get older, we lose some of the energy functioning of the cell, and we grab garbage inside the cell, which inhibits it. So an old cell doesn't, whether it's heart or brain or kidney or whatever, doesn't look the same as a young cell. A young cell has more energy organelles, energy producing areas and a density of them, and less, a young cell has less of the what you would call garbage collection. They're organelles where you're getting rid of stuff. What happens is there are 14 areas that change the way you function to have younger cells. One of them is what we used to be senolytics. We used to try and get rid of old cells. Well, now there are rejuvenators that turn on two genes in our cells, and they make proteins that make us younger. So if we can do that, so we can take old cells and make them young. There are techniques now that rejuvenate our repair systems. When you're under 30, you repair things almost automatically, whether it's a knee, a medial collateral ligament injury, or whether it is something with your brain or your heart. We have stem cells that repair, but we run out of those. Those don't function as well as when we get older. Well, There are two studies now, two companies now, one an offshoot of MD Anderson, one of Hopkins, that are now testing things to rejuvenate our stem cells without causing cancer. And the one that's available now that I'm involved with is therapeutic plasma exchange. So we know, for example, if you look at heart failure, there are some things like diabetes and hypertension, et cetera, that are predispositions. All of those together are about 25% of heart failure. We can explain. What's the others? Well, in the genome-wide association studies, it's called GWAS, there are 100 different genes that contribute to the rest of it. All genes do is make proteins. So you can get rid of all those abnormal proteins with what we call therapeutic plasma exchange, which is getting you your red cells back, throwing out your old plasma and your old proteins. And so it's been if you will, a mystery, a research project. Why does therapeutic plasma exchange reverse aging? And it's because it gets rid of all of these minor, one, if you will, letter variants that we produce in our genes that produce proteins that cause problems.
So
I've gone through an awful lot.
This
Katie.
is a lot. And so people that are listening right now, they might be thinking here, saying, "Wait a second, are you saying that one, I can reverse time on my age cycle?"
We don't know yet. In animals,
yeah,
we can do it with 14 different processes. We don't know which of those, but if you ask, I'm at the Cleveland Clinic, and as you know, we give, you probably don't know, but we give medical care to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens hockey teams. And so when I was giving a talk to their group, I asked one of the star defensemen, if you take 14 shots on goal, what's the chance you're going to score? And he said, if I take 14, it's 100%. It isn't. It's about 80% if you look at it. So, and you could see that in the Olympics with our goalie stopped 42 of 43 shots. So
that was a great Connor Hellebuck.
It's about 80%. So we think with about an 80% probability that within 5 years, you're going to be able to, if you're 90, you're going to be able to be younger than your children. And that's a huge emotional change. People say AI is a big disruptor. No, longevity, reversing aging, will make that a very minor disruptor compared to us living longer, younger.
And you mentioned the Cleveland Clinic. You work with professional athletes. You work with Dr. Oz. I mean, the list of accolades for you is tremendous. So how are we actually, in 5 years, what can we expect to see actually happening?
With an 80% probability, you'll be able, and my best guess is there will be three things done together, and I mentioned those. Something that changes old cells into young cells, something that improves our repair system, such as growing stem cells in ourselves, not getting exogenous, and something that gets rid of our misstepped or missignaling proteins. So I think there'll be three things and there'll be clinics set up that will relatively inexpensive. Now, the key though is you have to stay young to get younger. That is, if you develop what we call structural changes, if you, instead of having a heart muscle that's got all heart cells, you have some connective tissue cells where they've repaired things, then you're not going to be able to reverse that, we don't think. But you, in the animal models, don't reverse that. So you have to stay young to get younger. So we think that it'll be important to stay young, and we've got a whole bunch of therapies. The side effects of the GLP-1s are so good that you're able to keep a lot of systems young. So there was an Oprah show in the late 90s. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car, right? I always ask Katie, do you know what car it was?
No.
Because it kept that car company alive for about 10 more years. It was a Pontiac.
Oh.
You don't have, they don't
They're not
have
around
Pontiacs
anymore.
right? Didn't keep them alive forever. But anyway, she's brilliant. So we now at the Cleveland Clinic have a program where almost everyone in executive health, you get a statin and you get a GLP-1, you get a statin, because the side effects are so beneficial.
So with what we're seeing between the research that you're doing and some of the different technologies and therapies that are coming out, what do we see first? Do we see the cells living longer, the brain cells? What can we really expect? Because you said longevity is not, AI is not the thing we have to be on the lookout for. It's longevity.
We don't know the answer to that. If you look in the animal models, everything changes at the same time. So women with, if you will, graying hair, it turns black or blonde again. So in the animal models, the hair regrows, the skin regrows, the heart regrows, the brain regrows. So it is all of the above.
Yeah.
There are specific things that these techniques are used for now. So, for example, therapeutic plasma exchange reverses about 70% of Alzheimer's dementia. That is, it doesn't slow the rate of brain dysfunction, it reverses it. But it also does that for long COVID, and it does it for a number of other, what we call autoimmune diseases. Why? Because it's getting rid of the abnormal immune proteins that attack your immune system.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question, we don't know that any one cell will go faster than others.
Yeah.
We know that there's some things, you can see it here, that are specific to, for example, collagen or gelatin in a diet improves your tendon and, if you will, connective tissue functions from muscles to bone, and makes Achilles injury much less common. There's some specific things that we know will, what we call slow aging, but from a reversal of aging, it looks like it all will occur relatively at the same time.
It's a very exciting time to be alive, that's for sure. So where do you see 10 years from now, what does...
Well, it depends on whether this works in humans or not.
Yeah.
But if it works in humans, we're going to see that the problem of lack of babies. So right now we have a major economic problem because of the lack of babies, right? There aren't enough babies, young people working to support us older people. But what will happen is if you're going to live 50, let's just say it's good for 40 years. If you're going to live 40 years longer, you're going to work 20, you're not going to be retired for an extra 40 years. You'll get bored to hell.
Yeah.
So what'll happen is it'll change our education system, it'll change our work. We now go education, work, retirement. It will go to education, work, education, work, education, work. But if you work if everyone in America the average age of retirement is 61, if it was 71, we would not have a budget deficit. We'd be able to afford all the social programs we worry about now. Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security wouldn't run out of money. So it solves an awful lot of problems that the lack of babies has caused, if you will, or the lack of workers.
Yeah.
So if this occurs, and I said it's about an 80% probability. Do you have children?
I do. They're 8 and 11.
Okay,
Two
so
girls.
just imagine in 20 years or 30 years, they're 40 or 39 and 30 and 41.
Yeah.
How old? I shouldn't ask you how old, but
I'll be 72.
You will be able to be as young as they are again. So very tough emotionally, right?
Yeah.
To think of yourself
That's crazy
as,
to think
right?
of myself like
but
that.
But that's maybe what will happen. And so you might be able to, you say, I don't want to be doing a podcast host then. I want to be running a corporation, or I want to be doing something different in education. You're going to have the chance to and we don't even know the jobs that'll be
Yeah.
created then, but it'll be totally different.
Amazing. Well, Dr. Mike, this has been an incredible conversation. I feel like we've only barely seen the tip of the iceberg, but it's been so great. I'd love to speak with you again, and I wish you the best of success with this. 80%, I mean, it looks like
well,
it's a
the
strong
one that's
probability.
available now is, as I said, Therapeutic Plasma Exchange, and
Yep.
so Lifespan Edge, if you go to lifespan-edge.com/research, you can read all the research that's accumulating on it, and we update it constantly. So, as you
Yeah.
can tell, I'm a science nerd. So
I love it.
You'll see that.
Amazing. Yeah, and we'll be sure to include that in the show notes for anybody that's interested in learning more, which I'm sure everyone is. But if people want to follow you, connect with you, learn more about all of your studies, where's the best spot for them to go?
Well, they can go to lifespan-edge.com, or I do have a Substack called Michael F. Roizen, MD.substack.com. So we do a routine, and as you may know, I've written a little over 6,000 columns with Dr. Oz when he went to, and it's in 68 newspapers. So when he went to, when he was approved as administrator of Medicare and Medicaid, CMS services, I'm writing them by myself now. So
Okay.
they're in 68 newspapers. You can see the latest medical news.
Amazing. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you again so much for joining us on Behind the Practice.
Behind the Practice is produced by Next Step Social and Podcasting and hosted by Katie Brinkley and Sean Quintero. A special thank you to our guests today. This episode was recorded live at the Boston BioLife Functional Longevity Summit. A special thank you to the team that helped make this podcast happen.